If you're aiming for NEET 2026, I bet your social media has been an absolute mess lately, just exploding with rumors about huge changes to the exam. It's confusing, it's stressful, and honestly, it makes it pretty much impossible to focus. So today, we're going to cut right through all that noise. We're going to give you the clear, factual answers you actually need. Let's decode what's really going on.
Is the exam going completely online? Is the syllabus you've been studying about to get thrown out the window? Are you going to get 2 attempts a year like the JEE folks? I know, these are the big questions that are probably causing you a lot of anxiety. And in this explainer, we are going to tackle every single one of them. No speculation, just the facts.
So first things first, let's play detective and trace these rumors back to where they started. You know, understanding the origin of all this chaos is actually super important to see the whole picture.
Okay, so this whole firestorm basically kicked off because of one article in the Times of India on November 29th. It reported that this 11-member committee had met a couple of weeks earlier, back on November 15th, and this committee made some pretty big recommendations to the NTA and the Ministry of Education. Now, their goal was actually a good one. They wanted to reduce the crazy burden on students and make you less dependent on coaching centers. But as you can imagine, this news just opened the floodgates for all those videos predicting massive changes.
All right, so that's the backstory, that's the rumor mill. But what you really need to know is what has actually been decided for your exam, the one in 2026. So let's get right to the official verdict and just clear the air once and for all.
Let's just put the biggest fear to rest right here, right now. This quote, it says everything. For every single one of you preparing for NEET 2026, listen closely. There will be no change, not to the exam pattern, not to the difficulty level, not to the syllabus, and not to the mode of the exam. You can take a deep breath. Seriously, the exam you're preparing for is the same one that's been happening.
And this slide just lays it all out, crystal clear. The rumor was a big shift to an online test, right? The reality? Nope, it's staying pen and paper. People were panicking about a massive syllabus change. The reality? The course syllabus is exactly the same. A complete pattern overhaul was being predicted. In reality, the format is not changing. And the big one, 2 attempts a year? For now, NEET is staying as a single annual exam. So yeah, it's a clean sweep for stability. No changes.
And just to be absolutely 100% clear on the syllabus, it is not changing. Your holy grail, your main focus, should remain firmly on the official NCERT textbooks. Now, you might see questions on some topics that were already there, like dengue and chikungunya. And for those, the official biology supplementary material that NCERT released is your go-to guide. So the bottom line is, stick to the official stuff. Don't get distracted.
So you might be thinking, okay, if nothing's changing for 2026, why did that committee even meet? Why all the drama? Well, this is where we have to separate the present from the future. While your 2026 exam is stable and locked in, those discussions, they do give us a little peek into how the exam might change, but that's a big after 2026.
So if we look way down the road, beyond 2026, some real changes are definitely being discussed. A shift to a computer-based test is a big one they're considering, mainly to fight paper leaks. They're also talking about much tighter security, things like Aadhaar-based center allocation to stop fraud, and a continued push away from just memorizing facts towards more conceptual, application-based questions.
And just so we're all on the same page, when we say computer-based test, or CBT, it's really simple. It's just an exam you take on a computer. You read the questions on a screen, you click your answer with a mouse, no OMR sheets, no bubbling, none of that.
And this table perfectly shows why this shift isn't so simple. I mean, on the one hand, a CBT would be a huge weapon against paper leaks, right? Plus, you'd get results way faster and say goodbye to those horrible OMR bubbling mistakes. But on the other hand, it brings up some really serious issues about the digital divide for students in rural areas who just don't have easy access to computers. It also depends heavily on technology working perfectly, introduces the whole confusing world of percentile normalization, and it means you'd have to learn a totally new way to manage your time. So, it's complicated.
Okay, so we've busted the myths. We've looked into the future. Now, let's talk about the single most important thing. What does all this mean for your preparation, right now? With all that noise gone, let's build your winning strategy for NEET 2026.
Now, here's a really critical point. Even though there are no major structural changes, just copying last year's prep strategy might not be enough. And you're asking why, right? Well, it's because the style of the questions is evolving. The exam is slowly but surely moving away from direct recall questions and more towards questions that mix concepts from different chapters and really force you to apply what you know. Competition is only getting tougher, and the paper itself is getting smarter. So, what does your upgraded game plan look like? First, you've got to shift your thinking from just studying chapter by chapter to mastering question types. Get really comfortable with assertion reason, graph interpretation, statement-based questions. Second, you need an NCRT plus approach. This means knowing your NCRT inside, outside, and backwards, but then supplementing it with things like the NCRT exemplar and other high-quality MCQs. Third, and this is a big one, stop just taking mock tests and start analyzing them. What kind of mistakes are you making over and over? Where are you losing time? And finally, seriously rethink your attempt sequence. That old biology, then chemistry, then physics strategy leaves the hardest subject for when your brain is totally fried. Experiment. Find out what works for you.
Look, at the end of the day, in an exam with millions of students, your biggest advantage isn't just what you know, it's having clarity. With all the rumors and distractions out of the way, the real question you have to ask yourself is this. Now that you know the truth, are you focusing your time and energy on the things that actually matter?